Hey, what's up? My name's Ercy and welcome back to Circe'sBooked. In today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the first 5 books of the Twisted Tale series from Disney Books. If that's something you want to see, then stick around. So the Twisted Tale series are a series of books from Disney Books where they take the Disney movies and they give it a little twist. You know what I mean? They take elements from the movies or from the Disney tales and just give it a little spin, a little twist in order to kind of give you a whole new story while also satisfying the nostalgia and all that good stuff from the movies that we all grew up with. So far they're a lot of fun. I've only read 5 of them so far, and I have some thoughts. When I first heard of them, or I first stumbled upon them, I should say, I was in my local Target and I was strolling through the book section like I always do, and I saw the book for Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. And it immediately caught my eye because, like I've said before, Mulan was always one of my favorite Disney movies growing up. I always really connected with her, and I just thought she was such a badass. And anything Mulan, I'm immediately gonna give it a second look. But I didn't buy it then because I saw that it was part of a series, and it was the 4th or 5th book in the series. So I didn't want to just jump ahead of the series, even though learning now you could read them in any order you want because they're not connected. But at the time I didn't know. So I left it there in the store, and I did a little more research, and I saw that A Whole New World was the first one. So I decided to give that a listen from my library. I borrow my audiobooks from my library. So that way I don't have to pay for them. So anyways, long story short, I wound up getting into the series. I borrowed all of them from my library, and I've read the first 5 books, and here are my thoughts. Even before I get into the books, I just want to note 4 out of the 5 are written by Liz Braswell, and the Reflection was written by Elizabeth Lim. So I don't know if it's like they're contracted out or it's like a licensing or contracting thing. I don't know. But the first 4 I'm going to talk about are by Liz Braswell. And then I'll get to my thoughts on Reflection towards the end. But anyways, the first one in the series is A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. And this one is a take on Aladdin. This one came out in 2015. And the premise behind this one is, what if Jafar was the first to summon the genie? Like all of them, this one was a lot of fun. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Not that it really matters what rating you give it, but it was a good time. I wasn't like blown away by it, but I mean, it was still a good read. It was fun. It was nostalgic. It took little bits and pieces from the movies that made it a lot of fun to read while also giving it a whole new twist. This book gave a really good insight into the city of Agrabah. It gave us the city in a way that we don't really see in the movie, and I feel like that's what I really liked about this one. It highlighted the societal problems that weren't addressed that well in the movies. I mean, you see little bits and pieces of it. I mean, Aladdin is a street rat, right? He's giving bread to the little kids that he stole. There's this harsh punishment towards people stealing food, but there's a lot of people that can't even afford to get a piece of bread, right? So I felt like the book did a really good job in highlighting those problems. You know, you got the city suffering while the Sultan is playing with his toys in his palace. I love when books really emphasize the societal problems that are totally ignored or sidelined by the main characters of the movies. It really shed light on a really ignored community in the book, or in the movie too. We got to see the street rats and their whole society, and we also got a really good take on Jasmine in this one. We see her, I mean, in the movie she was very independent. She doesn't want to just get married off to just whatever prince is coming along to woo her. She feels like she deserves better than that. She feels like she's capable of more. And I felt like this book really put her in a leadership position and really helps her start this revolution against Jafar, who has stolen the genie and is taking over. So I thought that was really good. And you also have this realistic perspective on magic in this book where, you know, the genie, he's summoning parades and all this stuff, and people are like, where did these people come from? Like, why do they look so weird? Why do they all look the same? You know, I thought that was a lot of fun to see in the book, where people are questioning the origins of like what's happening, or like what's really going on, you know, like why does Jafar have this power? Like, who are these people working for Jafar? You know, so it was pretty good. We have this sort of revolution of the poor against Jafar and his minions. And so I thought that was really good. And, you know, Jasmine's like leading this revolution. So this one was, you know, it had its moments where it was pretty serious at times, because again, we're talking about poverty and neglect of the people, and you know, they're revolting against power. It was also a lot of fun because you know, you got everyone from the movies. You got Abu, you got Jasmine, Aladdin, and you know, you got the whole crew. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't reread it, but it wasn't a bad book. It was a lot of fun. You know, it's like I read it and there's other things to read. So that is my take on A Whole New World by Liz Braswell. The second Twisted Tale book that I read was Once Upon a Dream, also by Liz Braswell. And this one came out in 2016, and it's a take on Sleeping Beauty. The premise for this one is, what if Sleeping Beauty never woke up? So I also gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Again, nothing bad about it. It was fun. It was a good time. I just probably wouldn't reread it. I didn't absolutely love it, but I mean, it's a good time. Like if you're into Disney movies and Disney books and takes on stuff like that, like retellings, like you would have a good time with this one, because I felt like this one especially was very whimsical and dreamlike, because we're dealing with Aurora trying to find the power within herself to wake herself up from the dream or from the curse. Again, from the movie, we see Aurora being cursed by Maleficent, and Merryweather, you know, altering the curse so that way she's sleeping instead. The story takes place mostly in her dream, and she has to find the power within herself to wake herself up, because Prince Philip wasn't able to kiss her awake. I felt like this one did a really good job in redeeming Aurora's character, because, you know, like in the movie, she pricks her finger, she falls asleep, and it's Prince Philip that winds up defeating Maleficent. This one did a really good job in kind of flipping it around and giving more power to Aurora, and as she learns about herself, giving herself that courage and digging into the bravery within herself to overcome the obstacles that are being thrown her way by Maleficent. So it really gave her a lot more substance than what we see in the movie, where she's just kind of dancing with the animals and stuff like that and being all pretty and cute. But this one really gave her like power, and it was pretty cool. But again, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's not a bad book. It's fun, but you know, I've read better, so it's not bad. The third Liz Braswell book on this list is As Old as Time. This one came out in 2016 as well, and it's a take on Beauty and the Beast. The premise for this one is, what if Belle's mother was the one who cursed the beast? So I read this one as part of the Shelf Space Olympic readathon, and it fulfills the prompt, at least for me, of Dionysus, because it has a red cover on the book. I also gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Like the other books, there's like a dual perspective where you get POVs from different characters. This one, you get that as well, but you also get different timelines. So that one was a little different from the other ones, because you get the timeline from Belle and the Beast that we all recognize from the movie. But we also get a timeline from Maurice and Rosalind, and those are Belle's parents. So this one was really cool because we get, you know, this complex, multiple timeline, political intrigue, magical, whimsical take on Beauty and the Beast. We see how prejudices against people with magic within them plays into the political atmosphere of the kingdom at the time, and how Belle's mother, who is an enchantress, she kind of gets tied up in this. We see a lot from the Beast's perspective in terms of his pain and turmoil and things that are going on with him, and how it's twisted up with Rosalind, Belle's mother, and her and things from her past and her timeline. So without, I can't really go much deeper into the connections there because that would be spoilers. I really like that we see Belle having this sort of responsibility that, like, once she learns that her mother is the enchantress, she kind of bears the weight of the responsibility of, like, what happened to the castle and the servants and the beast, and she takes it upon herself to try to help them overcome the curse. So they defeat the curse, but in a different way from what we see in the movie, which actually was really, really cool in this book, because while we also have this idea of, finding your true love and questioning that kind of stuff, I love that the book didn't really just rely on that. Like, it had those notes of it, but it didn't need that in order to be successful in what it was trying to do. I also really like the ending of this book because it resolved a lot of the problems, but it didn't tie it up in a neat bow. It allowed for the characters to really show their growth and self-improvement while acknowledging that it's something of a journey instead of just like a fix. Like kiss your one true love and everything will be better. And, it doesn't do that. It does something different. And again, I don't want to give it away in case you're interested in reading it, but I really like the way that it went for this one. So the fourth book that I wound up reading was Part of Your World, and also by Liz Braswell. So even though this one is the fifth book of the Twisted Tale series, I read this one after Oldest Time because Reflection wasn't ready yet from the library. Yeah, I just wound up listening to Part of Your World, and this one came out in 2018. I also read this as part of the Shelf Space Discord Olympic Readathon. This one is a twist on The Little Mermaid. So the premise for this one is, what if Ariel never defeated Ursula? Which I have some opinions on. Being that I have a young daughter, we've been watching Disney movies, and I have feelings from my past. There's nostalgia and stuff. But then I'm watching them now as an adult, and my husband and I, we were talking about The Little Mermaid in particular because we were like, yo, what did she do? She didn't really do much. I feel like Ariel didn't really do much in the movie. She was just kind of flopping around while Eric was the one that wound up killing Ursula in the movie. But anyways, I felt like this book kind of agreed with us on that because it continued with that idea of like Ariel causing problems, and then in the end Ursula winds up winning in this scenario, and she kind of is defeated and has to go back into the sea and deal with the ramifications of what happened. Her father is a polyp imprisoned by Ursula. Prince Eric is still under the spell of Vanessa or Ursula. And Ariel doesn't have her voice, and she is forced to go back to the sea. But what I really liked about this one was that it really redeemed Ariel. She is forced to go back to the sea, and she is, as punishment, because, her sisters, they're all about, like, just living that ocean mermaid life. They wind up making Ariel be the one that takes over the kingdom and the responsibilities that come with it. Being that she's voiceless, she has this kingdom to run, she's got all this responsibility and the guilt about what happened with her father and losing Eric and all that stuff. We see a real change in Ariel and how she kind of matures and grows up and realizes how foolish she was, how ridiculous she was acting when she was younger. So this one takes place about 5 years after those events. So she's a little older, a little more mature. She's got, running a kingdom under her belt. All the guilt and everything has forced her to really grow up. And she decides to take an initiative to try to fix what happened. And I really like the way that this one went because it really redeemed Ariel. Just like the one for Sleeping Beauty, it like redeemed Aurora, this one really redeemed Ariel. I also gave this one 3 out of 5 stars because it was a really slow start, but it really picked up towards the middle and the end. Like it was pretty good. But I won't reread these, but they're fun, nostalgic. and it really redeemed Ariel. Now, finally, let's get to Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. Now, I don't know if it's because it's a different author. I don't know if it's just my love for Mulan that's seeping through. But this is a 5-star book, my friends. 5 stars. And it's not because Mulan is my favorite movie. You know what? Because I take back that earlier statement. It's not because of that. Because I have mixed feelings when it comes to the movie and the sequel. All right. This was just so good. This was really good. I really love this book. This one is by far my favorite Twisted Tale book so far. There's still more. I'll get to that later. This one was amazing. This one was so good. So this one came out in 2018 as well. And the premise behind this one is, what if Mulan had to travel to the underworld? So what's really cool about this one is this one immediately picks up in the scene where she's in the snowy mountains with her crew. They're about to get pulverized by the Hun. So immediately thrown into action. One of the most intense scenes from the movies, right? Where Mulan, she grabs the rocket and she runs. And she aims the rocket towards the mountain and they're going to cause an avalanche. But the Hun leader, Shan Yu, approaches Mulan. He's about to slice her up with her sword. She fires the rocket. The avalanche comes. As he's about to swing, Captain Shang comes running and he gets in the way. He's the one that gets sliced up. And Mulan has to save him. She has to save him. It's so good. I'm being dramatic. But Captain Shang takes the hit for Ping, right? His friend. And Mulan has to then save him. The avalanche comes, wipes out all the Hun, right? But Captain Shang is dying from his wound. Chi Fu, the Emperor's Council, wants to abandon them. Wants to abandon Captain Shang. And Mulan is like, Ping is like, no, it is my fault. I will save him. And he's like, he's dying. It is your responsibility. Then you take care of him if you want to save him. And she's like, fine, I will. And at night, when he's dying, and she's like, oh no, he's dying. He gets visited by his father, the general. And he tells Ping that there is a way to save him. She has to travel to the underworld, to DU, to convince King Yama that Captain Shang is worth saving. She winds up getting into the underworld. We have this whole journey in the underworld, and on top of that, she's like discovering herself, coming into her own, while she's being deceitful. She's trying to discover who she is. When I tell you this book is amazing, Y'all should read this. This was so good. It had so many elements of these classic books about the underworld mixed in with Chinese folklore, because you got, Dante Alighieri's Inferno. You got elements of Virgil's Aeneid. You got elements from C.S. Lewis's The Divorce. These ideas about going to the underworld. What was it? Hercules going to the underworld to save Meg. That whole idea was just taken up to a whole nother level, where you got all these ideas mixed into one, and it was just so good. This was executed perfectly. Chef's kiss. So good. Y'all should read it. Like, I could not stop reading this because it was just amazing, and I needed to find out what was the next level of the underworld. What's gonna happen next? Who's she gonna see next down here? You know what I mean? Like, I could not. I devoured this audiobook in 2 days. Usually I'll take like maybe 4 or 5 days on an audiobook. 2 days I read this audiobook, and it was so good. But let me stop here, because those were the 5 books that I read from the Twisted Tale series so far. There are many others. There's more that I'm going to get to. I'm going to take a little break from them just to get in some other books. But some of the ones that are coming up next on my list are Conceal Don't Feel, which is like a take on Frozen. Mirror Mirror, which is like a Snow White one. Straight On Till Morning, which is like a Peter Pan one. And So This Is Love is like Cinderella, and I think like Unbirthday, which is like a Alice in Wonderland retelling. So I'm gonna get to them soon, but like I said, I'm just gonna dive into some other audiobooks that I've been trying to read. So those are my reviews of the Twisted Tale book so far. I'm having a lot of fun with this, so I definitely think you guys should read it if you are interested. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these and what do you think. Like, let's talk about them. Like, do you have something different to say from what I think? Because again, I'm having a good time with them. I like talking about them. So if you've read them, or if you're even interested in reading them, let me know which one you want to pick up. So give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.